Okay, a few people have asked me about the drone that I've got, and so I've decided to do some little videos describing it and explaining how you fly it, what I do with it, what my reasoning was for choosing this particular drone, etc, etc. So, kick straight off. Here it is in its own little backpack. The backpack, by the way, came separately, got it from Amazon, and if you're going to get a drone, I would recommend looking for a backpack specifically designed for it. This backpack was specifically designed for my drone, and it was worth every penny. It's been fantastic. Okay, so that's basically what you get, or what I got with this drone. But I think you tend to get similar setups with the drone controller, spare set of propellers. These are VR goggles. Okay, so let's just have a look. I'll try not to get in the way. That's basically the platform that you put your phone on if you use the phone to control it. That is the controller that you use with the joysticks. I'll come on to those later. Spare battery. You generally only get one battery when you buy a drone, and I'd recommend getting a spare as soon as possible. VR goggles. You slot your phone into those, so you can actually wear these, and you've got a sort of pilot's eye view from your drone. There you go. There's the VR goggles. Here is the drone itself, which is a Parrot Bebop 2. It's a mid-range drone, not the cheapest, not the most expensive by a long way. I think the whole setup cost me about £500. Now, when I was thinking about getting a drone, I knew very little, almost zero to be perfectly honest, and so I went online and looked at reviews and basically asked as many people as I could, and there was a sort of general consensus at the time that to quote one guy, you can't go wrong with a Parrot Bebop 2. So, and it was mid-range, not too expensive, but not a really cheap one, so that's what I went for. And I'm really happy with it, really pleased. There are pros and cons with it, as there are with all things, and go through those with you now, because it all depends what you want to do with your drone, really, the type that you buy. Now, I'm a photographer, so it was important that it had good quality camera, and you could shoot good video with it and take good still photographs with it from the air, and the Parrot Bebop 2 does that. It's not the best camera. You can pay £2,000–3,000 or more and get better cameras, sharper cameras, or high def cameras, but it's certainly adequate for what I use it for. So that's not a problem. The quality of the camera is not an issue. It's very stable, very easy and intuitive to fly, as you'll see in later videos. It's not affected too much by wind. It's fairly solid, although it is incredibly light. Most of the weight is actually the battery, but it's still very light. The whole backpack itself is really, really light. It looks big and bulky, but it is incredibly light when you've got all the kit together. The downside of the Bebop 2 is that it is quite large, and it doesn't fold away. You can get some drones, even some very cheap small ones, where the rotors and their supports actually fold away and fold in, and it makes a very compact little drone that you can literally stick in your pocket. And I've seen people flying those, and I've been quite jealous when I've been up a mountain, and there's no way I would carry this backpack up a mountain along with my other rucksack with all my outdoor climbing gear in it and whatever. But with some smaller drones, the little fold-up ones, and some which have got very good cameras on them as well, but you do pay for that. You can slip those in your pocket and then control it from your phone. You're basically carrying nothing. So maybe when I finally get fed up of the Bebop 2 and I move on to the next level of drone, I'll almost certainly be buying a smaller one, and one that folds away to be more compact. So it's a bit more practical for dragging up a mountain, which this one really isn't at the moment. So that's the drone, so it's very stable. There's the camera at the front. That's on a nice little gimbal, so you can turn the camera around, left, right, up and down. It takes nice photos, it takes fisheye photos as well. So generally really happy with it. This is the controller that I use. You can fly them just using your phone or your tablet, just use the Wi-Fi, and I've tried that, but I prefer having joysticks. It just feels better for me. I feel as I've got more control and it's more solid in my hand than playing around on a phone with a touch screen that you sort of swipe and slide. That doesn't feel quite as intuitive to me, but if you're used to using tablets and you're always on your phone, you know, you've got prehensile thumbs and all the rest of it, that would be a more practical way of flying your drone, because you wouldn't have to carry the controller, because actually this is probably slightly heavier than the drone actually. Okay, so this is how I set it up. It's just a little table to put your phone on, and you basically put your phone on there, and I'll show you in a bit, probably in a separate video actually setting it up and then flying it. But yeah, put your phone on that little table, put a lead through there into the side, little USB that connects to the drone via the Wi-Fi, and your phone or your tablet, if you decide to use a tablet, will show the view of the camera in the drone, and so you get the pilot's eye view. And I thought it'd be really complicated when I first got it and difficult to fly, but actually it's really simple. So I can't recommend this drone highly enough, really, especially if you're starting off. It's got all sorts of modes in it that I've never used. It's got a sports mode, which enables it to fly faster and more aggressively. You can get into a whole menu where you can set up the drone to fly aggressively. You can have it as a more aggressive sort of rate because it flies through the air like that. You can get it so it will bank more steeply, and I've seen some fantastic videos of one of these drones flying through forests, you know, like, literally like this, in and out of the trees. I'm far too conservative when it comes to things like this. I don't want to crash it into a tree and wreck it. So I've never used sports mode, bizarrely, but the normal mode is perfectly adequate. You get about 15 minutes of flight time on a battery in normal mode. I suspect that'd be less in sports mode if you were flying it hard and fast. It also uses up more battery, obviously, if it's windy and it's having to battle to stabilise itself and fight into the wind. But as I said, it is very good for that. The kids and I were on top of Scarfell Pike in the Lake District a couple of years ago, and we saw a guy with a lighter drone, and he tried to fly it from the summit, and it was very windy, and it literally just blew away. It just disappeared into the distance. It did about 200 yards in about 5 seconds, with the owner and all his mates chasing after it, trying not to laugh too loud. And I don't know to this day whether he got it, but if he did find it, it'd probably be smashed to bits. I have to tell you the embarrassing story with this, which a lot of my friends already know. Down here at Swanholme Lakes, where I am now, it was only about the second flight, and I'd flown it out over the lake, or one of the lakes, and was just bringing it back in, and I wasn't really used to controlling it, and I was sort of a bit of an amateur back then, and I was flying it in towards me like this over the water, and forgot that left and right is reverse when it's coming towards you. So I noticed that it was getting a little bit close to some trees on that side, and instead of you know, I went to move it to the right, to go that way away from the trees, but instead, because I got my left and right confused, I went that way, clipped the tree, dropped into the lake, and I thought that was it. I thought that was the end of my drone on its second flight, drowned in Swanholme Lakes. I managed to get it out fairly quickly. It was only underwater for about 5 seconds, and incredibly, once it dried out, it turned on again. I've never been so nervous in my life. I was convinced I'd wrecked it, convinced I'd drowned the drone, but no, it was fine, and never looked back. But I'm still incredibly nervous flying it over water, even a river.